to withstand adversity gracefully. By understanding, avoid complacency. Is me bleeding art? Guatemala charismatic leader in 1986. I had to find out who that was. Was he tied into the Zapatistas in the 1970s? You know, the Mexican students have been provoked into rebelling again this weekend. Old money did not share with the rural workers. Oh, they got some good deals in NAFTA. Anywhere you name a country, they got some good deals. For those people in the city, there was no trickle down. It seemed they had a an agenda after the agenda. So don't you have to have agenda before it can be agenda? Just playing with words here, but you'll find out it's not that funny. It seemed they had an agenda after the agenda, so at the debriefing, modern usage of agenda could be established. Around 1888, that's when the common usage of the word agenda appeared. That seems new because everything is new. Hold on. First, I looked it up. There was no agenda, there was credenda. Credenda is the Latin thing for it. It means things of faith that must be believed. Now, agenda, translated in the Latin for the first time, agenda in Latin, things to be done. Hey, maybe you need an agenda. The first order of every day is like, oh, I'm going to find a good place to crucify myself daily and start presenting my body like a living sacrifice, because he said, I'm talking about Creator Lord Jesus, it is the will of God that you should present your body, you know, as a living sacrifice, holy and presentable. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. You know the mud flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. ¿Qué pasa, Luther? ¿Dónde está? Look at that. One of them buffaloes. They used to have those on the street in Colorado Springs, like in 2012. It was a big deal. Check this out. It's not nearly as big a deal, but it does clear me of my responsibilities for this thing, because I'll probably be looking at some of these pictures. Here's a couple of thumbnails, not many. Oh, I passed a quiz today, a water quiz. That's why it mistakenly looks like a teardrop. A raindrop does not look like a teardrop. Hey, the trends of agenda, you know how popular trends are right now. Thanks, Brandon Coleman. You sure came out of nowhere, and glad you did with all that Google trend thing. This is a trend from Google, and the word agenda, 1900, 1910, Aleister Crowley much? There's the theosophy. Basically, nobody used it till very, very recently when the credenda turned into your agenda, from to do, things to be done. Originally from Spanish, hacienda, This was not my agenda to figure out this stuff today. Hermosa, Fernando Cortez. They had an agenda, kill them all. Let the Habsburgs rule. We got to get the money because they're buying ships, they're in debt, and we need gold. Gold in the 1650s, originally theological, in quote, matters of practice, as opposed to credenda. Again, the quote is things to be believed, matters of faith, from Latin agenda, literally things to be done, items of business in your modern sense, business to be done. It's attested in 1882, if a singular is required, equals one item of the agenda. It is now agendum. What? Wow. Boring. Hey, one time they told me you're not supposed to put the flag, and if you're a president, you're supposed to go like, hey, what's going on? How big is this flag? If it only really shows one star in the corner, what does it got to be? The size of the Empire State Building? That's hyperbole. Who's this guy? Oh, he doesn't like the apocryphal people. They got it all figured out. What are electrons made of? Ask Luther, he knows. He saw a picture one time. No, wait, he's the one that told me there aren't any pictures. Schematic. I'm going to be making one of these out of wood. I'm trying hard, but look at that angle. Nested toroidal surfaces before closing in on themselves. In this paper, we formulate a simple model based on a singular postulate. The mud flood was Armageddon. No, his singular postulate, that there exists a state of self-confined single wavelength photon. Well, you can't just base a model on a single postulate that cannot be proven. Hey, you. Oh, you're a prehistorian, and the roads don't make sense to you because to see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a flower. Mexico City has now had a Gen Z problem. This is the town where the people's mayor was murdered. Students are the Gen Z problem in Mexico. This is Maduro or something like that, not Mexico City. Jewish conspiracy. We're going to look at this guy, Jacob somebody, not Jacob, but Jacob Frank. Didn't Candace Owen change a lot in the last 4 months? This is not that old. They're not directly related, but they have a family connection. Because when they said Jacob Frank was the sex fiend that started the Sabbatarians, I needed to know. Well, that girl that wrote the diary, or somebody, they alleged, I heard it was written in a ballpoint pen from a pastor at a Presbyterian church. Where's that clicker thing? Stones. Did I show you these? Look at that. I think I did, but see how all the stones, because this was a body part. It is a body part reserved in judgment. Same as this, same body part, different diet, different levels of gemstones being built up. But I had a picture of this. Same stone. There it is. Hey, you, look at you. Look at you, little translucent stone with the pleura, which this would, I think, attaches to the esophagus, because it was big titans, little titans, all titans in between. Duodam, is that what they call it? And this is running down here. This is purchased in here. Very interesting. Thank you for that. It's supposed to kind of look like a seahorse. Does it look like a seahorse to you? It does not look like a seahorse. I mean, more like a rubber duck. Hey, you rubber duck, knock it off. Look, Tucker Lid didn't blow the lid off of anything about the assassination in Butler, PA. They're trying to give him all the credit. He did nothing. Everybody knew this within months. Compressed air is better. Like black bears are better than brown bears. Got a little dust up with one of my professors today. He doesn't think the Illuminati or anybody should be mentioned in sound history, good history. Conspiracies and things like that are bad. Blaming Freemasons, bad. I was sick of it. According to this guy, you're going to wrap up a history of Mexico with a girl who finally has a true understanding of Mexico because she's half Mexican, half white, born in Texas, and she identifies as a man now. So the Butch Dyke angle of the whole thing, and I was just like, wait, come on. You know there are Christians in here. They don't care. They tried to put me in jail. You know, there were a few more pictures I wanted to show you. A lot of times people will say, you know, we don't know these people. Well, people have known me for a long time. Like RJ's known me for, well, I think since Obama was president. Well, whatever it was before Trump's first term, we used to make fun of that guy. Anyway, I was going to show you some more pictures I got of me. That's not it. There, that's Paco. That's my 4 children in my house. That was my maple tree. Austin, first week. Rachel dressed for soccer. A lot of pictures of Rachel. You know how it goes with the first one, right? There's Paco at middle age, Paco young. I'm at one of those camp resorts where you just leave your camper, and we were visiting people and they had a camper. So I bought the food that night. My wife and kids, my dad and my sister visiting the Smoky Mountains, hanging on for dear life. The Arlington racetrack. When it rains at Dollywood, you don't cry. My wife and her roommate from college. My family when I was little. That's Paco. That's Paco holding his son. That's Paco on a diving board. Paco teaching 2 of his children how to ride. Not rainy at Dollywood. Some of these pictures repeated, didn't they? There's well, I thought it was my dad for a minute. No, there's my dad right there. We're on a boat to Put in Bay. They don't allow cars there. I don't know what's going on here. My wife and her sisters getting married, her second oldest sister getting married. Fourth row, fifth row at the Cardinals baseball game. You know, I really haven't changed that much, have I? My family again. This is in my rock and roll era with the beard. Me and my son, that's the way I dressed. My children, some of my family, me coaching at a banquet, award banquet. My favorite picture of me in Beaumont, Texas, with my three sisters. It seems to capture the spirit of them all, especially this little show off, Yvonne, right here with the hat on. She had to wear a hat. She's redheaded. One of the rare times my daughter wore a Cubs shirt. Was I sharing that screen? I should have been. So let's look at the what I got now. So we got the Freemasons, 1730, at the age of 20. He met famous King Charles. That's why we say it's 1711 and have said it since the Flat Earth Nation Golden Age past movement started, when, as I recently showed, I changed my name on YouTube from Alan Flat Earth to Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past in 2016. That was the start of it. That channel was taken off of YouTube in 2019 for too many suggestions that ivermectin was okay. I became Mud Flood was Armageddon. Everyone else is pretending. This is a theology that was there from the beginning, and it's been my job through unbelievable visions, trances with uh, mushrooms, with the Ute, the Apache, only to find out it's Christianity all along. And that the mud flood was Armageddon. If you think that hey, it makes a lot of sense, Golden Age is past, you're welcome. Thank God that he is in the business of scaring people enough to where, okay, I'll do it. Because it didn't make much sense to me when I started. I had kind of tried to figure it out. Age 20, Bourbons, Habsburgs, they did it. 33rd degree Mason, made possibly a saint. Who knows what they did alone with the things. I think I showed how many people were born in 1710 once before that got their own web page. 200 pages. Not that many, because there wasn't that many in the world. You have to build your history around these guys. They found their names on walls, in statues of them. Here's another one. These are who was born in 1705, 231. So pretty consistent. The Fox, Hills, Johnsons. Look, somebody with big hair, right? It's going to be somebody. Show me Craven. Well, you got a castle. Craven's Castle. Don't tell me women haven't always been in charge. I don't need to see the list of peerages created for women, inherited by women, or try to figure out who are all these girls. And Augusto Pinochet is not a girl, I know, but he legalized it. These are all women, Anne Boleyn, who ruled in a term called sua jure, which means in her own right. There was no, you couldn't vote. All of these women I'm showing you were in charge of their country. It's a Latin phrase, not in his own right. That would be different. This is in her own right. Let's stop acting like women were genocided, treated like slaves, get into the mines unless they were indigenous. These are peerages, examples who made women, you're in charge now. So when weren't the women in charge? Look where it starts. Like right around, like let's just, this is Julian calendar stuff. And it gets into, I think it switched to Gregorian here with, that's not Gregory, it's Gregory that did it. They say around 300, but It's just, it has been a steady agenda to put women, preferably lesbian, militant lesbians who don't want mansplaining men, trying to act like they were supposed to help them.
1946. Boomer filmmakers, journalists, public intellectuals absorbed all of that. America is exceptional. The founding is unifying. The Constitution represents shared principles. American history was progress toward realizing those principles, and that's it. But after the consensus school collapsed in academia, it kept structuring popular understanding because those storytellers, film, television, museums, had been educated in it. They learned it young. It's their baseline. You can update it with social history, become sensitive towards it, add marginalized voices, acknowledge ugly realities. But if the fundamental structure remains, America was founded on shared principles that ultimately unified us, you are still doing 1950s consensus history. Gordon Wood, who's 92 and
Consensus. It's the lie agreed upon, the fake Napoleon allegedly said. Hey, if you want to put in the comments, what country do you think this man is from and filming from?
Joe Ellis, who's 82, anchor that. They both maintained what Ellis called the older classic questions about founding principles. In 2018, they whined together that social and cultural history was overshadowing positive founding narratives. But Atkinson, Schiff, Philbrick, they're not scholars. They're popular writers. And the diversity voices in this, Maya Jasnoff on loyalists, Annette Gordon-Reed on slavery, Chris Brown on abolitionism, Black Hawk and Duvall on indigenous people and women, serious scholars doing important work, but slotted into Wood and Ellis's and Atkinson.
They've been taught what to think. Now, here's your first part of agenda, support for the agenda. It's new. It's been a part of their plans. It is obviously the Gender Expression of Non-Discrimination Act. Tried to get it passed since 2008, finally got it passed in New York, added gender identity, gender expression to the state's human rights and hate crime laws to persecute anybody that tried to talk a 16-year-old boy out of believing that he was you'll grow out of this. You might be gay. You're not a real girl. Well, that would get you in jail. It didn't work, but they kept trying. Finally, that's not a mafia name. Stop it. It's a mafia name. Go ahead. That's my opinion, right? So not much really about agenda, except that it's just awesome and it's working great according to them. What is this Tourette syndrome and how come it's taken off and growing exponentially like the autism? This guy says it made him a better soccer player. He's a footballer from the American soccer, the European soccer, not the American football. This has nothing to do with it, but they love to show this picture about this girl. They didn't even know what Tourette syndrome was. They just lifted this girl off of the bed after, some say, manipulating her digitally, not megapixely. He might have had it. They don't know. This guy discovered it. This guy might have had it, who may have had it. They don't know. Now they think it's in the thalamus, the ganglia. We talk about that a lot. Hypothalamus, pills. Somehow that is one of the common denominators. Tourette syndrome. Anybody an expert on that and how come it's so new? They thought it was a plasma exchange. They manage it only with medicine. You're going to be on medicine. This is a strong one, I think. So is this. Risperidone. Adverse effects. Some can have long, some short term. They're not going to show them. They don't.
Of the U.S. could suffer a fatal fracture. According to sources in the U.S. National Security Council, this prospect is causing a panic reaction inside the Trump administration. Insiders claim that Trump was furious when he learned about Japan's actions, calling them a stab in the back and even demanding that sanctions against Japanese financial institutions be considered. However, his advisors dissuaded him, realizing that such a response would only accelerate the collapse of trust between allies. Meanwhile, the Japanese government is doing everything possible to present its actions as forced and strictly economic. The Prime Minister states that Japan is not waging a war, but is obliged to protect its economy. Yet between the lines, the main point is clear. Tokyo no longer fears Washington. Over the past weeks, as Bloomberg notes, the Japanese Ministry of Finance has begun actively...
it's not boring, it's fake. It's set up. They have an agenda. Ian. This is a guy, man. He hung out with the Aleister Crowley. Learned how to write these novels about what's going on. He's also the man who wrote Chitty Bang Bang. He's very, very well educated at these finest Starfort universities. Briefly attended here and there because there's somebody he probably wanted to meet on the side. You know what I mean? Naval intelligence. Oh, GoldenEye. That was even the name of one of the James Bond movies. More famous for Chitty Bang Bang with the child catcher. Trust me, he hung out with Crowley. So there was this one. Australia before Federation. Figured something out. I don't think I found as much on this as I wanted to. Here we go on this. Columbia Pictures. The light, the liberty, the goddess, Columbia. That's where they learned how to love America. They turned it, they had an agenda, and now it's working. Frank Capra, Columbia Pictures, obliterated. That doesn't look too weird. The Statue of Liberty. Come on, white people. You know, it was eugenic world. They had separate baseball leagues in 1936, separate drinking fountains until the 60s. That's Columbia. Make it great again. First Bible verse is, for power is perfected in weakness. The taxes, pay the taxes. They had fulfilled, they finished, pay is perfected. Messiah said, it is finished. This is finished. I believe this is 8 out of 62, but I don't have that as good a memory as I used to. No, this is the whole word. Now, which one had 8? Did any of them? Well, I don't see it. So anyway, we know that Romans 13 employs the you. Okay, the wrath of God is completed. The mystery of God will be fulfilled. These are things that seem to make sense in that present tense. It's finished. Now this one here. And you will be dragged before governors. Bear witness. They'll deliver you over. Don't be anxious for that hour. When they persecute you in one town, flee to the next. That was the advice for them then. Run away when they are trying to put people to death. For truly I say, you will not have gone through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. So it's a timestamp, but not so much as maybe I or you may have thought. We should consider they weren't talking, about the disciples or, here, you guys that I'm telling this. Once it became obvious that, okay, they had a chance to run away and they took it, they hunted them down. And when they were persecuted, they just keep running away. It's something to think about. It's a veil being lifted, dare I say. It's new, but what's not new? The fact that Jesus, the I am here sending, sent them out as sheep in the midst of wolves, some trying to dress like sheep. And it was them, the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will deliver brother over to death. The father, his child. Do you have any idea how bad things are going to be within the next possibly 2, 4, 6 years? But then, as now, we're going to be enduring. It's hard. I can fight all I want to prove that Adams State University hired their first female president because it was recommended to them by Bill Richardson, former governor of New Mexico, frequent flyer on the Lolita Express. She got the job. This became a militant lesbian stronghold to this day. That I was coming here anyway, being the presbyter of the San Juan Mountains, but I figured I might as well try to figure out why. And so it was the whole Epstein thing. I was unprepared for the level of spiritual battle here these last 3 years since I've been at this school, 3.5 since I've been in this area again. And I've been through some intense spiritual battles, but you have to come to the realization like I did. It will seem like they're winning. We will continue to be encompassed about. They can't really hurt the Paco. I've been protected here in the belly of the beast, in a constant spiritual battle with these people, only because this is where people are going to come. Satan is going to win. He's using this place. This place has got to realize, yeah, sure, we're going to be running for our life. Somehow gays will be back in charge in the not too distant future. But it doesn't mean they win right now. It doesn't mean there isn't a narrow road where old people and young people will be given fresh water and taken care of while the rest of the world is drawing a line in the sand. Gonna prove that they're a man. Run away. This guy here I think he was a big time. The guy who wrote this book, Age of Innocence, to see the world in a grain of sand. Now, I'm disappointed I didn't see the picture of the sand that I thought I had. Because it's star-shaped sand. I may have left the tab open for some star-shaped sand. There it is. That's what I wanted to show you. Because we're made from the dust of the body parts of the Titans. That's the Genesis 2 creation. First creation, the Titans were made in the image of, by the only creative Elohim, Lord Jesus, Jehovah. They were told because they were given a chance to rule. They had their own principalities and people worshiped them. They weren't supposed to mingle. The other gods, what did it say at the council in heaven in Psalm 82? They didn't do it good. Jesus rebuked them and were warned in verse 6, so you will die like men in the same flood, Noah's flood. Hit with Barak, the lightning, the glittering sword. They are reserved in judgment. Adam was made from dust. Maybe a previous creation, maybe I'm confused. Maybe they died in a voiding that left the earth void. But then there was the creation in Genesis 1:26 and 27. So it's still open, but we do know in Genesis second chapter of Genesis, verse 5, there was no man, Adam, to till the ground. So a man was created from the dust, not in the image of. He made a man, Adam, put him to work for quite some time, reminded him, it's not that good for you to be alone. Let's go to the garden. Let's go name the animals. It's not good for you to go. Nap time, Adam. Okay, nap time. Hey, look at that. I'm going to call her Eve. In the meantime, Jesus had taken a rib out of Adam, made the woman, did not have to breathe life into the clay mixture that he had to breathe that pneuma into the creation of the Genesis chapter 2. That's why the stones are the Titans, are reserved in judgment. The men are reserved in judgment in Noah's flood. The Titans, the mountains, the not bedrock, are the other big rocks reserved in judgment. All rocks are body parts. Now, William Blake, the guy who did modern education, romantic poet, prophetic works about how to be smart, assumed to have been written, but published exactly when they were needed. 132 lines of, this is like one of the only normal stanzas. A lot of weird stuff. The world in a grain of sand. To hold infinity in the palm of your hand. That's what they want. Who are these guys? Did they do it? More religious, sexual fanatics from Russia? They're not. Well, maybe they did it. But there's no such thing, spiritual Christian that goes underground and has sex parties. No. I have every right to doubt your salvation. This is a good sign of people who are ready to go like, hey, I'll try a sex party. Statistically speaking. I know, maybe you, not you. This guy was some mystic, hey, I'm going to horn dog my way right into the czar's inner circle. That were these guys all trying to be crazy. It's nuts. It's obscene, but they were given into that incest, thinking it's the mother of God thing. These were where those people, and some of them still do marry, keep the bloodline going of these people, but they're not the ones. Not according to a rant by Candace Owen.
His name was Jacob Frank, okay? That is what you are going to look up. His name is Jacob Frank. Now, his birth name was actually Jacob Ben Leibowitz. And
anybody believe that that's not sped up?
he was born in modern Ukraine. You will find that a lot of these Frankists, because that's what they are, that's what they call themselves, are out of modern Ukraine. Before him, there was a man named Sabbatai Zivai. It's called like Sabbatianism. You can look all of this up. I promise you on my locals page, I will provide you direct links so you can learn all of this, so that you know which links you need to read, what books you need to buy to learn the fact, an established fact, that these pedophiles are in power. What we are referring to is a religion that is known as Frank.
Wow.
That the nation of Israel was established because of World War II. There's a lot going on leading up to that. Learn about the Damascus affair of 1840. Learn about what happened to Esther Solomisi in Austria
Oh,
in 1880.
learn what I said about her and Tucker, Charlie Kirk. They're going charismatic. They're going Roman Catholic. They're enjoying the Mormon religion. They're going to try to bring in the Noahide laws. Yeah, that's what I said. Like on the September 12th, Frankist. Who are these people? The Frankist. She was talking so fast. Look, January 6th again. Frankist. There's a Frankist from Croatia. Pure Party of Rights. Habsburg monarchy. You know those guys. Kingdoms. What's up, honkies? They weren't white enough. They weren't considered white. Now, where is that Jacob Frank? Is that's not Jacob Frank. This is the one that she was showing a picture of. Maybe I thought I'd be able to get away with that thing. Polish Jewish self-proclaimed Messiah. That's that Sabatini. Incestuous, ritualized orgies, trying to violate, to bring back Jesus. I think it was something like that. Consequences of the Messianic movement of Zabbatai Zevi. It's all fake, you know, from starting for the start of the gold, you know, the Satan being loosed, end of the golden age. You know, they had to prop up that, you know, there were still Jews. There were not. The Jews went away in that generation. Let his blood be on us and our children. That's it. That was the end of that generation, and then finished off all. The Jews are over. So it's a sex cult. They did it, and of course that's where it's, you know, going to happen. So I think this is all, you know, worldwide, not only in America, around the world. They've got the new Gen Z flag, and they don't know where this skull and crossbone flag came from, but now all of a sudden there's the Gen Z, the manga flag. Okay, if you say so.
Trying to calm the crowds, seen here kicking the fence and throwing rocks at officers. Mexico City's public safety secretary.
You clean this up, it's like the White House. It's a mud flood.
They're saying the protests left at least 120 injured, 100 of them officers, some who were taken to the hospital.
Is there a Frankist Persianist society? Well, not so much. Neologism, expansion of Islam. This is how they faked what they call the Middle Ages, the Middle Period, the Dark Ages. They had to get the Persianate so they could have the golden age of Islam. Looks like they used the same type of art. I believe these were Christians that were non-Trinitarian. They're really the argument for Moses can't stand the zeitgeist treatment. Star sand. How about that? It's found on beaches right there in Okinawa. Foraminifera, rare sand-like substance. It's not sand? I thought it was sand. What's this? Chronicology. It's a conch shell. They're weird too, right? Look at the weirdness. What's this weirdness? More weirdness. But everybody knows what you believe.
Not only that, but we also have to trust the chain of custody with the recorded documents. We have to trust the fact that when they were translated from different languages between different nations, different empires, that they were recorded properly. Why do we have a catacomb of so many bones below Paris, France? How many bones of how many individuals are down there? Millions? I suppose it depends on who you ask. And where did these bones come from? Why would these bones be arranged in this format? How exactly does this reflect the values at the time of Christianity, which was the only known religion in Europe at the time?
Which they were being ruled with a rod of iron because they planted the wheat with the tares. And the wheat was planted, and they put in tares. They grew together. And when they started bearing fruit at the end, it became evil. But they had to pretend to be Christian. They have an agenda. They've been planning this. Now, the main takeaway, and it has to be, I want to drive this home. It will look like they're winning until fire comes down and rescue those who, Daniel chapter 12 say, blessed are those who make the last 45 years, because that's always been a part of the theology. It says, from the time the abomination of desolation is taken away. Matthew 24, Jesus Christ says, pay attention to Daniel about the abomination of desolation. Daniel 12 says, when it's taken away and they can't do any more sacrifices, that's the abomination of desolation. From that time, there will be 1,290 days. Blessed are those who make 1335. That's another 45 years. From the very beginning, when God showed the mud flood Armageddon movement to do re mi and scared me to death to where I had to do it, I had no choice. First, it was all love. I saw Jesus in visions, and I was his little Paco, and it was like, guess what now? And I'm like, I think you got the wrong guy. And he goes, boom, more light. And that's what I realized. God doesn't ask you to do things. You're going to do it. So I really have no choice. We knew that the last 45 years started intuitively, RJ and I and others, on 2001 9/11, when the world's banking changed. Could have been September 10th, when a cover-up of $2.7 trillion was announced. What's the real cover-up? $2.7 trillion was unreal money back then. Our whole national budget was in the 600 billions. Trillions were a new thing. And now the money has been reset. The gold is there because they have an agenda. That's why they added 1,000 years. That's why they need orphan trains, because after the 1,000 years, what does the Bible say? Hey, you two angels, one for the wheat, one for the tares. Put in your sickle and reap, grapes of wrath and good grapes, good and bad, sheep and goats. So after the 1,000 years, when Satan is loosed, it's another depopulation event. And it does seem we may have been mingled with, but we still have souls. It explains the whole orphan train brain thing you're going through. The shocking fact that it was your grandparents or parents or great grandparents were the ones who complied. They didn't get lobotomized. No, they made it. They didn't get institutionalized or worked to death. They made it. And they were believers because they made believers out of us, didn't they? It's a flat earth nation. The golden age has passed because the mud flood was Armageddon. And my friends are dedicated to never telling you anything else because we're scared not to tell you the truth. We're trying to hold on to the plow. We've been on our knees. We've confessed with our mouth what we believe in our heart. That's the start. You have to choose to get on your knees, believe in your heart confess it with your tongue, and then you'll realize you've been adopted, you've been called, you've been predestined, you've been elected, chosen from before the foundation of the earth, whatever. Doesn't matter unless you've been on your knees confessing that Jesus Christ is King of God, of everything, and then calling your mom, calling somebody, confessing it with your mouth. This is what I believe now. That was your first love. Do you remember it? Have you had it? I hope you haven't lost it. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho, aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao, sayonara, auf Wiedersehen. Adios, amigos. That's how we like to say goodbye in the San Juan Mountains.